Alright, Mean Creek is sad, but here we go. Let's go ahead and do another disturbing movie recap on Mean Creek. And as always, spoilers ahead. The movie opens up and we see George and he's minding his business, filming himself playing basketball on his camera. Then we see this little boy Sam come along and he picks up the camera and he's just looking at it. Now mind you, it's not his camera and he shouldn't be touching other people's things, but he just picks it up innocently. George flips out when he sees Sam touching his camera. He's calling him all kinds of names, he's beating on him. Like George went from 0 to 100 real quick. Sam just got his feelings hurt and embarrassed. Sam's affected by what just happened to him, like George is a bully. So Sam tells his older brother Rocky about what happened to him. Rocky's like, oh hell no, not my little bro. He tells his two friends, Clyde and Marty, he goes, hey, this dude George was beating on my brother earlier today. I want to get revenge. And they're like, bet, cool, we're in, what you want to do? He goes, boom, I'm going to call up George and tell him, hey, it's my little brother Sam's birthday party, even though it's not. Do you want to come? We're going to invite him down for a boating trip. We're going to let him know not to tell his parents where he's going. Then from there, they're going to play a game of truth or dare. And they're going to convince George to remove his clothes. They're going to dump his clothes in the river. And they're going to leave him and make him go all the way back home without no clothes. Innocent plan. The only thing Rocky got to do is just convince George to come on the trip. Because George was just picking on Sam, so why would he come? But Rocky got this. He goes, listen, I think you and my brother got off on the wrong foot. My brother really wants to hang out with you, dude. Won't you come out and hang out with us? So George says yes. He agrees to go on this boating trip for Sam's fake birthday party. So the day comes and you have Clyde, Marty, Rocky, Sam, and Sam's girlfriend, Millie. Now Marty's driving the group down to the river and George is really excited. You see, we really don't know George. We just think that he's a bully. However, you can tell that there's something different about George. He doesn't really fit in. And it's not said, but it's implied that George may have some type of behavioral disorder. Like he has a hard time regulating his emotions, hence lashing out at Sam. And he's socially awkward. And he's so excited to be there, he quickly opens up. He goes, hey, I'm dyslexic. I love having friends now. They're eating sandwiches and George goes, this is good, my friend. Give me the recipe. And Clyde goes, it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, dude. Now, during the trip, Millie pulls Sam to the side. And she goes, dude, why is George here? He just beat you down bad not too long ago. Like, what's going on here? Sam tells Millie, oh, he's here because we're about to do this prank on him. Millie goes, no, that's mean. There's obviously something different about George, like y'all are being the bullies now. She goes, Sam, that's hella weird. Tell your brother and his friends that the prank is over and that I want nothing to do with it. And Sam goes, okay, you're right. I'll go talk to my brother. So Sam goes to Rocky and Rocky hears him out. And Rocky goes, okay, I'll tell the boys. Now, Rocky tells Clyde and Marty that the plan is off. Like, we're not doing the prank no more. And Clyde hears Rocky out, but Marty is kind of mad. He goes, listen, dude, I drove down here. I was ready for a good time. But at the end, Marty's like, okay, fine, we won't do the little prank. Now, watching George trying to fit in with this group is really uncomfortable because George generally wants friends. He's being nice. He wants to get to know this group. And this group keeps sneak dissing him and they're being mean. It's sad because George is not saying anything because he's so happy to be around friends. I mean, the whole group finds him weird and annoying and they understand why. George is very lonely. And we soon begin to realize that George uses his camera to connect with people. It's an easy way for him to be social and express himself. And we see him recording throughout the trip. Now they're on the boat and it's kind of awkward because they're not doing the prank anymore. And George does a little icebreaker. He's cracking jokes. There's a water gun. But ultimately, Marty decides that he wants to play the truth or dare game. And the rest of the gang doesn't like where this is going because they thought they agreed that they weren't going to do this prank on George anymore. They're laughing. George has his camera out. However, things go too far when George has the water gun and he aims it and hits Marty. Now, things get a little bit heated. And throughout this whole trip, they've all been roasting George and George hasn't been saying anything. And on this boat and in this moment, again, they're ganging up on him. Marty's really popping off. George doesn't like this. So George goes, at least my dad didn't leave me. George is trying to roast Marty, but this is a low blow because Marty's father not too long ago removed himself from Earth. Marty goes, okay, you want to talk about fathers? How about this? We're not your friends, bruh. He goes, nobody likes you. This was all a prank to get you cheek naked in the water. Now, when George hears this, he goes ballistic. All kinds of slurs come out of his mouth. I mean, it gets absolutely vile. George makes up a little cheer and goes, hey, your dad's brains Yeah, they were all over the wall. Marty's like, oh hell no. So he goes after George. There's a fight. Rocky tries to break it up, but the next thing you know, George falls into the water. And what's sad is that George can't swim. Now the whole gang is shocked. Like they're kind of just frozen. The next thing you know, Rocky hops in the water trying to save George. But Rocky can't help him. We see George's body wash ashore, and Millie tries to give him CPR, but it's all too late. George is no longer with us. Oh, they're freaking out. Like they're literally sick to their stomachs. They can throw up. They don't know what to do. They're not about this life. They're blaming each other, but they need a plan. So Clyde goes, let's tell the police. Let's tell them that it was an accident. Millie, Sam, and Rocky all love that idea. However, Marty does not. He goes, you dimwit. No, what about the camera? George was recording us the entire day. Where's that camera? In the water with George's body. If they find that camera, that's evidence. And here's the deal. Originally, when Rocky hit up George to invite him to the fake birthday party, they told George not to tell his mother. George's mother doesn't know who he's with, where he's at. Nobody knows that George is with Sam, Rocky, Clyde, Millie, and Marty right now. The group decides to bury George's body over by the shore. They bury his body and then they leave and go to Sam and Rocky's house. Everybody except for Marty wants to turn themselves in. Like there's no way they want to live with this guilt for the rest of their lives. Now Marty hates this because he expected loyalty. Marty truly feels like if they turn themselves in that they're turning their back on Marty. Marty knows out of all of them, he's the one that's going to go to jail and receive the worst punishment. Marty tells the group to screw themselves. He gets a runaway car and a weapon from his brother. He robs a gas station and he flees the country. The movie ends with Sam, Rocky, Millie, and Clyde confessing to the police and George's mother. The group tells them where they can find George's body. However, the police have also found George's camera, and we hear George explain how he wants to be a filmmaker. He loves filmmaking, and he hopes through this he can finally connect with people. This is his vice and his way of expressing himself, and hopefully people down the line will finally understand him. Sam is there when the police recover George's body, and Sam also sees George's mother crying in disbelief that her son is actually gone. The last shot we see is George turning off the camera.